Ngozi Talk Shows family, is Nomsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, lead from within. So with me today, I have Shireen Lovegrove, Kero Ann Cooper, and Kamau Ema. How are you guys?
Good.
Good, we're good.
Good.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. So our topic today is embracing the unwanted, how doing the difficult drives your dreams. Did you know that some of the world's most successful people actively seek out the task everyone else avoids? They understand that tackling the hard, unwanted work is often the secret key to unlocking the biggest dreams. Curious, if you're curious why, let us dive into the topic. Carol Ann, I know you chose this topic. Would you like to share with our audience what was the motive behind choosing this topic?
Yes, it was someone that I was supporting with a student who's sort of going back over her mock exams and just looking at where she's at and asking, and actually she said to me, I just don't want to do it. I don't want to do the studying. And she's actually getting tutoring. She's not actually in school. She's getting tutoring for a whole host of reasons. But she just said, I don't want to do it. And so I talked her through and said, well, what do you want to be doing? And she said, I want to do sport. And I said, well, what stops you? She said, well, I can't do it where I am right now. It's not available. But that's what she wants to do come next year. So really getting her exams she needs certain, at least her maths and English to get onto the course that she wants to do. Mm-hmm. So it helped me think, I started looking into it, and then I had a think, and I reflected on myself and realized that there were some things that I have been putting off that I really don't want to do, that I need to do to get me what I want.
Oh, need to.
Oh, it hurt.
Instead of I want to.
So I thought, let me look into that and sort of started exploring, well, how can I, what is it about doing what you don't want to do that will get you, how can you actually make it work for you? And so I thought, what a great topic, because we all have something in our life that we want to get, but in the way comes this, what we think of an obstacle or a challenge, and it's more, and so it's saying, well, how can we reframe that? So I thought we perhaps could look at that and explore it, because embracing that we don't, that's unwanted, to realize that actually it is something that can drive our dreams. It can get us there. So how is that possible? What is it about it? What does it do? I thought, yeah. So that's where it came from. So what did you see when you saw the title? Where did your thinking go?
Well, I love that you gave a perfect example there, which is, when we get stuck, or when we think we don't want to do something. And I wonder whether that's part of the essence. We kind of can't see the value of what we're doing right now. And so we try and avoid it, or we don't persist with it, which is a real, probably why a lot of businesses fail, why people don't succeed, is because there's this inability to be able to see the intrinsic value and also be able to persist with that while holding that dream in that space. So live in that embodied way, but still keeping that dream alive. That was what I started. It started to kind of run for me in many different ways. But I think what really connected there was the idea with positive intelligence, which is one of the things is about really exploring what's going on here. What's the resistance? Because if this is something you have to do, right? So you need this in order to move to the next level, wherever you are, then there's something holding you back for some reason.
Mm.
And so there's something about exploring that and then matching it with matching it with value, I think is what's really important, because we as humans, we move with is a desire. We move with emotion, right? And our emotions generally are what block us. Because our emotions normally are the ones that actually give us those negative thinking. So we get our emotions and they have this negative thought, and then they go into that negative cycle because we've got that not wanting to be there. So I think there's something about really exploring that and see if you can open that up a little bit, and just think about that intrinsic value that sits there. And then how do you make that alive? So that was what was really kicking in for me at the time. And I think about myself, right? Because, hey, there are so many posts we have to do quite regularly. And some of the things that while I'm busy doing a post, I may think, oh God, this is something I really don't want to do right now. And that's really because these saboteurs are kicking in, right? These are these self-doubts and the things that make me think that I can't say this and I can't say that. So yeah, and then you kind of backpedal a little bit. So I think that there's something about how do you in that moment align to that mission, align to that desire of what you want, and really look and see what it's contributing right now. So and I think that will really help with the persistence to go the next step. And really is something about, okay, what do I can do for 5 seconds now or 10 seconds now? That then starts an activation of energy. So yeah, Carmel, I know you went ooh when we
Yeah, like of course, like I mean, it's the words that are used, right? The
Exactly.
need to do something, and instead of the want of doing something. And I totally understand. There are certain things that we don't feel like doing, we don't want to do. In a sense, I believe that we convince ourselves that we need to or have to or must do them in order to go through certain steps and go through to the next stage of our life. I am a bit against this idea that anything needs to be done. In essence, to put it simply, is because I have ADHD, and there's nothing that needs to be done for me unless there's something else that triggers it. Like there's another emotion that is triggered that brings between quotation that want and not need to do a certain activity because it will help me with something else. Now, we take this into the general public. A lot of people use the words that you use, Caroline, like things that I need to do and that I don't want to do. Well, what is forcing you to need to do it? What is that need? We only need to drink water and eat to survive. Anything else is extra, if we put it in this sense. So challenges do occur, and yes, obstacles do come along, perhaps sometimes to tell us, well, this is maybe not what you want to do in life. Maybe there's a different path that you can take, a different path that you would like to take, as possible or impossible, as it might be. Perhaps there is a waiting period for you. Perhaps there's a growth period for you. And I'm a strong believer of that growth period, of that things don't happen when we want them to happen. They only happen when we are ready for them to happen. And so take an example of the student. Well, perhaps she is not ready to go through the process that she wants to go through. And therefore, she has to find something else to do meanwhile to compensate for that time. There's a part of her that is in growth that hasn't completed itself yet in order for her to go through that next phase of studying sports, for instance. I don't do marketing, for instance. I just don't do it. I don't like it. I've never been interested in it. But as life coaches, as psychologists, between quotation, we need to spread the word out that we exist, right? Okay, so do I really need it? No, I don't need to do it. I want to do it, but hey, there are people that enjoy doing that. So please go ahead and do it for me. Now, I don't need to do that. I want somebody else to do it for me. And so we change, as you were saying, Shireen, we reframe and we change the whole concept of needing and having and must do things. An example, I keep reminding my mom all the time, the way she speaks is always must, need, have to. But this is the old German education. Now, coming from German, du musst, or you have to, you must. And that's the way people are taught or used to be taught. Funny thing happened. My mom was telling my son, yeah, you have to do this in order to do that. I looked at her because this is something I taught him. I don't have to do it, but I would like to do it. And so as we reframe all these needs, these musts, a good way of taking on these challenges, I believe, is considering them a stepping stone, not a challenge. Considering them a comfort zone that we want to go beyond, simply to try it, not trying it as per se, but to explore what happens when we do these things, not because we need to do them. Well, perhaps there is an outcome for it. Perhaps we learned that, not, you know what, this is not for me, but I can get somebody else to do it for me. I can outsource this. This is the way I see things. I see them all as growth potential purposes. From the grand scheme of life purpose itself, there is no need to do anything you don't want to do.
Well done, Kamau. There is a need to do things. Come
No,
on.
I
As I
disagree.
say, well, you don't have a choice.
There's always not having a choice is deciding that you don't have a choice. There's always a choice. There's
But as I
always.
say, well, whether
that's
you
the key.
outsource the marketing or whatever you do, you still have to make that call. Because if you don't make that call, you don't get to where you need to be.
And if you don't make the call, you're still making a choice.
Yeah. So for me, I agree with Shireen and Carol Ann. You still gotta do it. Even when there is doubt, you still have to do it. For me, because I started cleansing, like my inner being is clean, I can tell you that I don't have a choice. Like everything that I set out, it's like I have these goals that I set up. So I get this reminder in my head that you said you're gonna do this, so you gotta do it. Like
Just
there's
holding
a
your
push,
word.
like there's a push, like push, go and do it. You said you're gonna do it. You want to get to where you need to be, you gotta do it. So that it means that if you are really determined to get to where you need to be, you gotta do what you have to do. And I know Carol Ann says there's a task that we all dread. I like the example that you gave for the student. Um, we all do that. There's task that we all dread to do. Like myself, I do not want to do the end of year tax thing. I do not want to look at it. It's just so too much complicated, but I still have to do it. I have to do it like 2 months or 1 month before. Um, before my accountant requested, so it's ready, and then I can complete the other 2 months. But is the one thing in my business that I dread, and I wish I can give it to somebody else to do it for me, but I can't, because I have to do it myself to double check everything that is done properly, and just look at the numbers and make sure that everything corresponds with everything and everything is being paid for. And I tried to ask somebody else, but my accountant always come back and said, no, sir, could you please check it yourself? So those are the things that I dread. I don't like them doing, but marketing and stuff, I like to shove them to somebody else. But you still have to do it.
Absolutely, I disagree. I disagree. You know how you're dreading of doing these things, but you in a sense are forcing yourself, and so no, I have to do this because I know what it is and nobody else. Okay, it's an
Come on,
eye
if
for an
you
eye.
want to
It's an
reach
ego
1
sense.
billion,
Has
if
nothing
you
to do
want
with
to be a billionaire, you don't have a
there's a
choice.
reframe. We're talking about the reframe here. When you said, when I have a goal, if I set my goal to do this, then I need to do that, and this has to be done by me. There's no point of using it in that term in itself. It can be reframed in a sense that my goal is 1 billion, and in order for me to reach the 1 billion, there are certain things that I want to do in life, and these are the parts that I can do, that I'm capable of doing, that will help me reach that part. The other parts that I really don't like, that I dread, your words, how is it possible to reframe it in a manner that it does not become a negative thing and that it has a negative impact on you? That's the whole point that I'm trying to make here.
And I think that is the key that actually comes out of this. One of the key skills that is developed is actually about being able to reframe it in a forward moving way, rather than it holding you back, and there's this dread and there's this emotional drain on you. And it's being able to find the skills to be able to get to that emotional, what is that emotional root cause that gives you that dread? You know, what's really underneath? And when you can clear that, and it's not even about reframing that, but it helps you with the reframe to come up with a more positive way to look at it. So yes, as a stepping stone, or actually that emotional pull or that dread actually transforms, you know. So it's actually, and that's something that I've work with Brandon Bay's The Journey. That is where her work goes to. It's that emotional root cause. And again, being a trainer there this weekend has just brought me back to that so beautifully. You know, it's so simple. But there are other activities out there. Again, it's getting to that emotional driver that has you dread it, and being able to come to a different emotional driver that will drive you towards doing it, not pull you back. And so it's about just acknowledging it. So it isn't, and what you were saying about a need, and yes, you do have a choice. You have a choice as to how you look at it. And I'm still sort of in a way fighting with, well, I need, but no, actually, I want to complete my journey case studies and get them written up this time, because I actually want to complete it and get the accreditation.
Yeah.
Because it's a niggle on me. It's been a drain on my energy all these years.
Yeah.
That I've had that niggling away at me. But you haven't done that. You haven't done that. And I can't just let it go. It's somehow, it's there. So that is emotionally draining me. So I want to do that. So again, being able to face what it is that I'm still putting off doing, that I have to do. I have to get those case studies in to get the accreditation. So there's the, you know, it's got to be done. That's the only way I can get the accreditation. And if that's what I want, then I need to get them written up. The doing of them is fine. I love doing them. And again, I've done a whole load more. I've done them and I've stopped because I realized I'm not writing them up. There's that's there. So it's my choice now to go, okay, I want to deal with this. I want to clear that, so that actually, yes, it becomes something that I enjoy doing. I just do, whether there's enjoyment or not. I just take the action and do it, because actually there's a reward that I have a sense of once it's done.
Yeah.
That is beyond my comprehension at the moment, because I'm not there. But I do have a sense of it. That there's something that's waiting for me, you know. But,
I think you're quite right there, and I love that there are a couple of things that sort of were bounced off when all the conversations that people have had, if we want something, there are going to be certain steps that will be a requirement. I'm going to use a requirement.
Yeah.
A requirement in
Definitely right.
order for us to be able to have that thing that we want, right? There are requirements. Now, how do we interact with those requirements are going to be our personal challenges along that way, right? So for me, it's kind of like really recognizing, when are we in the place of transition, right? When are we a place that we have everything and we're just in that holding space before we jump to the next level? Or where around are we? So like something you said, Carmel, which was really interesting about that incomplete growth. We're not complete in that area. I think there's something about our level or capacity to be able to hold that level of discomfort in the same way that we would be able to still move through it. And I think that that's quite an important thing, because we're not going to like everything, but we have a capacity as a human being to be able to look deeply into things and get excited about it, right? We have a capacity like, oh, right. I mean, I think with case studies, often what I do with a case study for me is I look at it from a point which actually excites me about writing it up for this person, right? So when I start thinking about that, I start thinking about that person, and I start thinking, oh, this is a case study. I move it aside that it's a case study. I think about something else in relation to that. What did I learn here? What did happen here? And those things are the detail. So God is in the detail, right? The devil is also in the detail, but God is also in the detail. Remember, they're both one and the same thing. We are both God and devil at the same time. We have saboteurs and we have a sage. We have wisdom and we have folly. We live in a dual world, and our brain is dual, right? It's how do we match these things together so that we can actually get them to collaborate together in a way that allows us to do that. And part of the collaboration is really about that emotional charge. How do we go to that little child or that block and free it so that we're able to do that? And that's moving towards, right? It's a moving towards what's going on here. Oh, I don't want to do this. I know I want that requirement. I want this, right? But I really don't want to do this, right? That's a child response in a way. So we need to be really aware of that and go, okay, what's the resistance? What's really getting on? What do you think is going to happen here? All of these things, and just being so empathetic, and then just explore it until you go, oh, right, that's the bit. Right, that's the bit. It's not as bad as I thought, right? Because if you just start doing that and taking that first step, then things change dramatically. But it's that first step, isn't it? It's that first step.
It's always that first step.
Of standing there and just going, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what I'm going to talk about. This is what those first steps for 10 seconds, 20 seconds. Once you're in the flow, things start to change. And then things move to, oh, I really want to, instead of, oh, God, I have to, right? And then you get to another point where you get a little bit stuck and you go, okay, let's explore this a bit more. So kind of let go of anything else, but move into it again a bit more. Oh, what's the next step here?
I really agree with that emotional part where you both of you have spoken about where you're handling that emotional child where, okay, why are you acting this way? What's happening here? What is there to learn in that part of you? And I love the requirement. That made total sense to me coming from a logical perspective, because it makes more sense to put it
That's a man thing.
Yeah, it's a man thing. But for me, it has more to do with I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but when I was a kid, I'm a Trekkie fan. So I've always watched Star Trek, and for me, yes, my idol was always Spock, and so that concept of emotional detachment from the requirements in order to allow yourself to move forward, to upgrade to the next level and reach those goals, that for me is a fascinating concept. And we have that in NLP and in psychology, where you can detach yourself from your from that space where you're in. Be an observer. You can even be an observer of the situation happening, so that you have further disconnect from the emotion of what is happening in order for you to move forward. Like you, for instance, changing that case study where no, it's no longer a case study. It's a human being here that is expressing certain behaviors. And this is a fascinating part to write about. That's in my head for me. And it's the same with whatever it may be. I mean, I don't like you remember, like, I think, what was it? I had to redo my business psychology, organizational psychology thing. And the whole concept for me to bring sources and to prove that what they were doing is wrong, even though I have the experience in real life and I can tell them just what is going on that is wrong without sources, it doesn't work. So, okay, what happened here was very simple for me, is that, okay, you want this? All right, let's see who writes about that, who writes about that, who writes about that. And everything that I wrote and I spoke about and I technically lived in my experience, I just figured out who wrote stuff similar to that. And I just included the names of these people. I mean, it's paraphrasing their work as well. They've done the whole study. I don't like this kind of research. I just had to bring up the names of the people that did the same thing that I did in papers, which works. Now, and that's the whole concept of, okay, how can you detach yourself from an emotion that is causing you a struggle, or causing you, not even a struggle, causing you to live idly in a spot where you're idle. There's no moving forward. You start distrusting yourself. You start self-sabotaging because of that stagnation. You start blaming yourself. Why me? Why me? Why me? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Why do I need to do this? Why is this happening to me? All of these blame frames that one gets when you suddenly hit that stage of idleness and you're not moving forward, compared to the growth that you can get, compared to what's happening right now. What is there to learn? What is the part that hasn't grown in me, that is in development, so that the requirements that I have are going further? Perhaps even as it can be as simple as this: the goal that you're reaching for has nothing to do with your deep personal purpose in life. The goal that you're pursuing belongs to somebody else that said it once or twice, but it got so much engraved in you, it became part of who you are. For a long time, my dream was to be extremely organized in my home and everything, like that, meticulous and all of that. But for the life of me, I couldn't do that. I absolutely despise organizing things. There are only certain things that I can organize, and I will have no problems with it. My computer and my clothes. If I showed you a picture now of my clothes, all my shirts, they are organized by color. My t-shirts are organized and folded in a very specific way to where are the t-shirts that I wear at home, where are the t-shirts that I can get dirty with, and the t-shirts that I like and enjoy to wear and go out with. But organizing other stuff, it's not for me, even though in the back of my head, there was something nagging at me, like you were saying, Karen. Now something, no, I want to do this. No, I have to do this. It has to be organized. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and it didn't work. Forget about the fact that I had ADHD. The only reason that it didn't work, this was the voice of my mom being extremely organized in everything that she did. And her words saying, if your workspace, if your house is not organized, it means also your head is organized. It means that you can't live through life because you can't organize your thoughts and go through the requirements of your goals. Correct in most cases, to a certain degree. Not with creative people, not with people with ADHD. And until I realized that emotional child that was striving to follow the words of his mother, when I decided, I realized it, I said like, okay, well, what if it's not for me? That is not part of my purpose. That is not part of who I am. I am a disorganized person in certain areas. I am organized in other areas. But what is part of that purpose for me? My purpose is to help people. Okay, can I help people with my disorganization? Yes, because when I'm taking care of my clients, I can remember all the clients that I've had. I can remember their names. I can remember their stories. I can be extremely specific on what they said. And that means that I have the skill to organize certain things. And as long as it's part of my purpose in life, as long as it's part of my grand goal, everything that falls under that umbrella, the requirements become targets that are achievable. And so I see it in a way that it comes back to that root case of what are your values, your core values, and are you following your dreams of life, your goals to success, or are you following the goals and the dreams of others? I've been blabbering now. Sorry. I had a lot to say now.
It's okay. It's awesome. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Namsu, would you like to add to this or follow
I
up?
like what Kamal. I like what Kamal was saying. At the end of the day, I think we all know what we want, what we desire. I know our parents, how they raise us. Like my family raised us this way. Like my stepdad, like when you walk into a room, like you fall on the floor, like he will clean the floor, shiny, shiny. But I knew that was my story. I just look at him and I'll be like, okay, that is your story. So I get connected to my own story, but I always separate myself from other people's story from a very young age. I don't know anyway. Sometimes I question myself, like, am I normal or what? Because I've seen how from a very young age, if I enter somebody's life, they teach me what they teach me. If it makes sense, I take it, I use it. If it does not make sense, I don't use it. But at the same time, I know my vision, I know my goals. But when it comes to my goals, anything that I dread, like Kamal says, it means that's not me. It means I don't want to do it. But anything that I know that it wants to take me, it would take my life to the next level. I know that I got to do it. It's like we're setting this TV series and Carol Ann has been getting involved as well. So we're all in the team, but you can see like myself, I need to know what I'm doing. Like I've seen, because Des was my business coach, he was so organized. And he would like tell you that if you don't do this, wherever you want to go, he will ask me to write my goals. And then he will say, go and take action. And like, if I don't take action, he'll ask me what happens. So that is in my head. If I'm doing something, like if there's a goal that I need to reach, I tell God, this is where I need to be. And I find myself being reminded by the Holy Spirit. You said you're going to do this, but you're not doing it. Please go and do it. Like there's no please. It's like a push. If things go wrong, it's like, okay, there's no like feeling sorry for myself. There's like, okay, go to this website or it's like the information is there for me not to complain, but to just continue with the task. And then there's time where it will be like, I'll feel like, okay, I need to rest now. It's not about accomplishing things. But every goal, everything that I have to do, anything that is not mine, I look at people when they're doing things, I just look at them, I'm like, okay. Then in my heart knows it's not my story. If I'm dreading to do something, that means it's not for me. So I meant to, I think I need to get somebody. I meant to help to add you all on the HR website, but I've not done it because I know it's not my job to do it. It's somebody else's job to do it. Honestly, their task in the HR in my company where I need to add people. You guys have jobs, little jobs that you need to do, but I've not added you guys. But that means it's not for me. It means I've got to get somebody to manage that so they can add emails and bring you guys in. So, but I've meant to do that a month ago. But to me, that's not important. It's not something like that I need to buy. Anything that has to be done with my company. I don't feel I have to do it, but I get excited. When there's a task that needs to be done to do with work or to do with my company, I get excited. When it's not done, when it falls apart, again, I don't dread. I'm like, okay, I sit down and pause for a few days, and you can't force me to go and do it. If I'm pausing, Kamal, you can't say no, Msa, go and do it. Like Eunice, he was trying to blackmail me. I knew when things were falling apart, I knew I needed to go and pray, but he was trying to blackmail me to do something. And I was like, you can't do that. And I knew I had to do something. And once I done it, everything falls back to plan. It's like if you're looking for information, I give you the information, you got to write it down. Because when you come back to me, I can't remember what I said to you. I'm just talking. Sometimes it's not me. It's like the Holy Spirit is giving you that information, like to do this. So if you come back and ask me, I'll be like, what are you talking about? Because I can't remember. So if you want to like a strategy or something, and you say, no, sir, advice, I'll be sitting there, I'm thinking, and that if that information is really, really valuable, it gets given to you. But you've asked me back, and then you ask me to go, I'll be dreading it to go and go back again because I know it's going to take my time. So I think it's very, very important to know where you need to go when it comes to, I like Shireen, like if you want something, we have to work on it. I've been watching the videos for billionaires in the US. They've given me food for thoughts about how I take action in my own life. And I might have to get rid of some people that are in my life. Because when I watch it, I've been watching it in like over and over and over. I was like, I'm nowhere near where these people are, mindset-wise. But I think now I'm going to have to go on my Facebook. There's some people that I'm close to. I might have to get rid of them. On my phone, I might have to get rid of them. Family-wise, I might have to move on without, because when you know that people are dragging you down, we drag facing the truth. Sometimes we dread, we're like, they're my family, they're this, but sometimes I might have to learn to let people behind, not because I don't love them, but I need to leave them behind so they follow me later. So all these things that I've been just watching and having some food for thoughts, and even in my love life as well, there's so many things that I need to work on. So I feel that I cannot dread it anymore. So I gotta do it.
Yeah, you got a
Yeah,
ticket
you
on
face it.
your first class train, and they didn't get their ticket. So just hop on and you wait for them in the next station.
Yeah. I love what you said about allowing them to follow later. It's not about dismissing them from your life.
No.
It's allowing yourself to move forward and them to follow at their own pace, not expecting them to keep up with you, or towing in with their expectation of, well, you've got to keep, hang back for me. You need to have that conversation and say, no, I'm going forward. It doesn't stop you following me, and I'm here. I have to move forward. And I remember a friend of mine many, many years ago, when I set on my journey of training in educational kinesiology, and then this whole journey of personal development and personal discovery, she sort of fell by the wayside. When I popped out to visit her, she said, I was heartbroken. She said, it's like you disappeared up your own backside. She said, and I couldn't follow you. And I felt made wrong. And it took me a long time to realize, well, I'm sorry, I can't hold back just because you can't follow me. And, you know, part of me was going, oh, perhaps I need to stop what I'm doing. And in the end, I thought, no, this isn't, I have to follow the path that I've been guided and that's been shown me. If we ever get back together again, or you know, get in touch again, we do. If we don't, we don't. And I've come to a peace with that, because I've come to a realization, you know, there is that quote, isn't there? People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And so sometimes you just have to let people go. But you leave the door open for them to follow you. It's like you blaze a trail, you know, forward. So yeah, well done, Nomsa, for recognizing that and
it's
wording
a
it in that
showdown,
way.
Carol Ann. Even with my ancestors, we had a showdown a few days ago because I realized there were some things that they were doing to hold me back without me realizing I'd seen it. But then I didn't know the meaning of it. But when my pastor mentioned it, and then I just went mad. And when I went mad, I could see, you know, like in the prayer says, if there is a voice that is meant to help you and that voice is sleeping, you wake that voice up to raise a voice for you. So when I did that prayer for that voice to raise a voice for me, I could hear now there's other voices now that are raising a voice for me to move forward. And I was like, this is what I need. Now I need to find strength to get to where I need to be. And it's just gonna need some breaking other people's heart and just moving on with my life if I need to get to where I need to be. I don't know. I'll send you the channel, Carol Ann. It's so good. It was like, it gave me some food for thought. I was like, okay. So on YouTube.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll look at that. And I think maybe rephrase it as, because I mean, that's what my friend, she said it broke her heart. That was how she took it. So it's not a case of you're going to break their hearts. That's their choice to word it in that way.
I got to have a little bit of mercy.
You know, you're doing what you need to do. And I think it's just for them to deal with it, to be honest, because you have to move forward. And yes, if you get these challenges, it's enabling you to, or it's finding the value in the tasks. And as Shireen said earlier, it's aligning it with your values. So what value can you put in the task that you're going, oh, you know, and bring it in alignment? Because once it's in alignment with your values, again, things begin to flow. You feel about it differently. You think about it differently. So again, as Kamal was saying, it's about that reframe. It's another sort of reframe. It's really important. And I love what you're saying, Kamal, about use your mum's voice. There's a lot of that goes on, and there's been a few times when I come to a realization that's my mum's voice. That's what she says. So why am I thinking I have to be like that? Rubbish. And then I'm about to chuck it off, you know? But how long has that held me captive? And so it's that waking up to those limiting beliefs, those voices in our head, where do they actually come from? Are they the truth? And is this task and I love that word you used, Shireen, a requirement? I'm going to use that. It's like, yes, that's a beautiful word. If it's a requirement, how can we reframe our way towards doing it? I've lost where I'm going with this, but what had me say it? But I wrote something, follow me later. Oh no, that was what I've already. Exploration, explore what's here. And it is about exploring. It's being present in the now. And what has you be stopped? And explore, that word exploration. Create an adventure out of it.
Mm.
You know, it's this whole thing. It's another, again, reframe. But also realize that you could be out of taking that path, because for me, I know the last few years I've really again dived into questioning, why writing, Lord? Why writing? But along the way, it's actually answered a few other questions for me. I have developed a broader skill set. I have found that writer within me, and and it is a requirement for me to write up these case studies.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to still find that writer within me who will do it, you know. But I've also found through that being able to unlock the writer, there are activities that also empower the reader. And empowering a reader then empowers somebody to actually be able to do maths, which was my goal in the whole beginning when I left teaching. You know, I started to sort of be able to see the link back, and I'm going, oh, wow, because even the most ablest of students, you know, with maths struggled when it came to the worded problems.
Yeah.
And these are the ones that I'm supporting the student with. It's the reading and the worded problems, because they can't pull out what's there. They don't, it just blurs, or there's no comprehension. And no matter how much you say, well, what is it telling you? What's the information there? And then what are they asking you?
Mm.
It's just like there's something in the way, something in the way. And so this whole thing about unlocking the writer within is helping the reading, the comprehension, and ultimately with the maths. So I'm quite excited to see where that's going to go, and start to begin to speak that out more and research it more. You know, so how, you know, it's recognizing how doing things that is a requirement, or that you're guided to do, that you're going, I really don't want to do this.
Mm.
It's trusting that guidance in some way, knowing that there is something greater that's going to happen beyond it once you accomplish it.
Mm.
You know, for me, that's what's come up out of it.
Definitely. Yeah, I was busy looking up the derivation or the etymology of requirement, and apparently it comes from the word to seek knowledge. So there's something really interesting there. But when we use it in another term, it's used to satisfy a contract between either you, whatever contract it is. It could be a contract that you've negotiated with yourself, or a contract that you've negotiated with another, right? So there's a contract that's going to require you to do something to have a certificate, to be satisfied with, or to be satisfaction, the word I'm making up right now. Anyway.
Beautiful. Yeah. Satisfaction. Love it.
Yeah. It did. Yeah. So yeah, that was really interesting. When I thought, well, why must I have a look at that word? And to seek knowledge. So that was interesting. So if this is a requirement, what's the knowledge we're seeking? What we're looking to acquire, and why do we want to acquire it? You know, what's the end goal? And I suppose something that I was busy writing about this morning, which I still haven't posted yet, but you know, we are a soul that's having a lived experience, right? So we're in essence that is here living life to the fullest of what it is. And I loved when Namsa said, oh, you hear that voice, you wake up, you hear the voice. That's the voice of your soul speaking, right? The voice of the soul that tells truth, and everybody's truth is going to be different because of their experiences, and they're a different soul. Yeah, they may have an aspect of God, which is that soul, but we are all different, and so therefore we all will have different requirements in which to fulfill that lived experience. So I think it's quite important when we think about that we connect back to that essence voice, that essence that says, okay, what's really important here? You know, if I have to if I want to put my clothes in the colors that they are, which is important to you, right? I have my wardrobe color coded. Why? Because it's easy, right? It's easy to see things very quickly for me. So it's a lovely organization, but it's really important. It's why is it important? Why is it important to do the case study? What does it give you? Does it give you the requirement so that you get satisfaction?
Yeah.
Right? Because the end goal is satisfaction. The end goal is that happiness. The end goal is that feeling of completeness. So what does that give me? That gives me that sense of completeness. And I think if we can connect to that, we have to start exploring, because the exploring gives us that sense of our why, the why we're doing what we're doing. We may not understand why your dad had a floor knob so that you could eat off, but for him that was a requirement in some ways.
Yeah,
He did
yeah.
something for himself, right? It didn't fit your soul essence, but it fitted his, and it made him happy in some way. So I think it's really useful when we start to think about things that are requirements that we need to have in order to do things. There are things that we all need to have because we need to learn certain skills. Right? If we don't do those skills, or we don't do those actions, then there is always going to be a consequence. So
Definitely.
we live life in consequences. We either do or we don't do. We're going to have this thing happen or that thing happen. If we're happy with those choices, then good. If you're happy with not doing the thing, then not getting your dream, then that's a choice, right? So it's about really going, well, I wouldn't be happy with that dream. So therefore the requirement is this, and therefore I will do this in order to have that. So it's kind of really didactic kind of reasoning that's starting to happen. But if you want, the moment you start to really explore on that, our brain works very forward action. The moment we start going on the journey of explore, we go into relational reasoning, deductive reasoning, and we start to move everything coming forward in our brain that then starts to give us that clarity and that capacity to be able to blend those two worlds together, right? Our emotional world and our mental world together. And that then is our soul world, right? Because it becomes connected down to our soul, to our essence. So yeah, that is what I am thinking right now when I think about, our have tos, our requires to. This requires, maybe it's really about, I'm required to be doing this right now to get that. And if we maybe start to frame our language, which more in that line, we might actually find we're less attached to the emotional component that's there, and more likely to be forward drawn by the emotion that's pulling us.
Yeah.
Right. If anybody
Anne, you are the host. I've got to run to another meeting, okay?
All right.
Okay.
See you around, Nomsa.
Okay.
Take care.
All right. We'll
Much
rain.
love,
Goes well.
guys.
All right.
And for me, it's you're mentioning it at the end, is that the attachment to the emotion of the requirements. For me, this is what creates that chaos in our life. That's what creates these impediments where we can't fit the requirements the way that we want to.
Oh,
Wrong meeting.
Yeah.
An unexpected guest.
yes.
Exactly. Right.
Pops in, pops out. Okay, so yeah, carry on.
I think this is what we can. The same thing here. Let me rephrase that. The unexpected guests in our life. That's it. I mean,
You
that's
weren't meant to
brain,
arrive.
that's where my brain went now. Now, unexpected guests, we can use that as the unexpected events in our life that are creating this chaos in our life.
Great utilization. Sorry, I just want to just say great.
And we have to deal with it, right? That exactly, like we take this example, right? She popped in, no, wrong meeting, and then we laughed about it, and we joined laughter. We made a joke about it. We made it part of our talk right now, and we considered it part of the grand scheme of that goal that we are achieving today. If we take all of these uninvited guests in our life, unwanted events, unexpected events and moments, and we just have fun with it. Consider it part of the requirement to reach a goal. You see, you're even breaking it down even smaller so that it has no meaning whatsoever. And I think this is also part of the thing that makes it difficult for people to be stuck in where they are and not achieve their dreams, by making these moments in their life that they can't achieve, these blockades, they're making them massive, and just breaking them down into several parts and mini parts and even minuscule parts or nano parts, however they want to go. It will make it so much easier to go through the small barriers. You have a whole huge labyrinth. Okay, well, it's too long. Let's go through the first part first. And when we do the first part, and do the second part, and do the third part, like when you were talking about your puzzle the other day, Carol Ann. People build puzzles differently. People start gathering them in bowls first, the ones that look the same, whether they have no sides, 2 sides, 3 sides, none. Those that have the bits going out full or not, those that are going inside. Like I do it like that. Plus I have another bowl where I have all the edges, and then I do the edges, and then everything goes and then sometimes I subdivide them in colors as well in case. So it's, if you keep breaking down these blockades that you have into tinier ones and tinier ones and tinier ones, it becomes something benign. It becomes something like, I'll go and grab a glass so that I can have my water in it. Something ridiculous. It becomes so easy to go beyond those points. And those dreaded moments have no emotional attachment anymore that block you from moving forward. They become nothing. They have no feelings. They become something that has no feeling, no emotion to it, and so it's achievable. And that's what I meant by distance in the very beginning, when I said if you manage to distance yourself emotionally from any task, from any struggle or deed that you have to or need to do, it becomes so much simpler, at least for me.
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? And it is that looking at it differently. And this whole thing about what we've been saying is it's just about facing it. And it just helps you with that problem solving skill. It brings out different skills within you just by facing it, rather than pushing it away. And that I think is the key here. And it's asking the question, well, how can I, rather than just going, I can't. And so you're then approaching it in a different way, and you're coming at a different angle to it. And this is what we've been doing here, reframing it, relocating it, just looking at different ways. And it's been amazing, and using different words. It just opens up a possibility of just the task getting done. So great conversation here today. Is there anything, how would you like to just finish up here? What that sort of final words of advice do you have?
Yeah, I want to just kind of say something which I think is really key here. And that is that when we do that kind of exploring, that contemplating, it's so powerful in building mental muscle. It's so powerful. And we need to build our mental muscle in order to deal with unwanted guests, right? We will deal with unwanted guests far more efficiently and send them back out the door where they need to be. We may even shut that door permanently or not, but we will have a better resilience and a better capacitance to be able to do that. So the more you spend time just reflecting and going, well, what was it that did that? How come I'm in this space? What's going on around here? Is this really true? You know, what's the average requirement? What am I attached to? All of these questions. While we ask those questions and are curious, and we want to know, right? So when we really want to know things, it gets us excited.
Yeah.
But it also builds those neural muscles, the neural connections within our brain that allows us to move more into that place where we have the ability to observe, right? Because it's hard when your brain is going scatterguns.
Yeah.
We have to train our brain to do that. So although we give you a lot of advice and things like that, there is some minimal requirement. And that requirement is to build those mental muscles. And we can do that in many different ways. But I think one of the things which we've talked about today is really about asking those questions, allowing ourselves to notice what we're doing so that we're in that moment, we are not reacting, but we are in the place of moving forward. We're in that place of building. And I think, like you said something there, Carmel, earlier on, are we in that transition? We're actually built when we're holding that space and exploring, we're in that transition. We're in the transition of allowing growth to start to happen, growth to spurt. And then while we're in that place, what will happen is ideas will pop and new creative thoughts come in. And as long as you can also do the same thing in that same process, you just keep rebuilding and rebuilding and rebuilding that mental muscle. So I think it's so important that we pay attention to our mind. And there are these simple little tasks that we can do inadvertently in the advice that we're giving. They're little tasks that actually build the mental muscle, make us you far more resilient and far more persevering, right?
I like that. I like that. I have something that came up in my mind, and
and it's floated away.
no, the thing is, I'm going to be so arrogant today, and I'm going to say you can quote me on that one because I'm pretty sure nobody said that before. This is how arrogant I'm being today.
Carry on, come on, carry on.
Feel free.
The life you dream of.
I'll brace myself.
Yeah, the life you dream of is built in the moments you embrace the unwanted. I'm pretty sure nobody said that because I'm looking the repertoire of my brain and I can't find anybody that said something. Could be something similar, but not to the words.
Do you want to say that again?
I'll say it again. The life you dream of is built in the moments you embrace the unwanted.
Nice.
I'm just writing that down because I think that's beautiful. The life that you dream
are built in the moment.
The life you dream of.
The life you dream of
in
the built in the moments
you embrace the unwanted.
Yeah. You embrace the unwanted. Come on.
Just to finish it on, yeah.
I'll give that to you.
One of the first times that I really come up with something that I think it's worth it. Specifically because of this talk. So to add on to it, the challenges that you will face or that we face, the discomforts we experience, and even the failures that we encounter, they are proof of us pushing forward and pushing beyond our ordinary, beyond our normal of what we can reach. It's reaching for something meaningful. It's our growth in process. And it's something that we might at that stage of our life not even comprehend or be able to see. So embrace these moments. And to help you out, think about something, an area in your life where you're avoiding that discomfort that we're talking about, whatever it may be, and commit to seeing it in a different light, in understanding how that small thing, that small unwanted part, that unwanted guest is part of, is a moment in your life that will build the life you want.
Beautiful. And I think it's about committing to yourself and committing to your vision or your goal or your wherever it is you want to be. It's making that commitment. So yeah, and what you said is very similar to what I sort of want to wrap up with, because I saw this beautiful word, there's a paradox. You know, the tasks you often wish to avoid are the very ones that will propel you forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, different parts of your journey, just think of them, they're not just barriers, they are building blocks of our future achievements. So I just like to leave you with that thought. And so thank you for listening to us. And we're here Monday to Friday, 1 o'clock. I nearly said a different time. So please do follow us on YouTube, and look forward to being here another day. Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.